Welcome back, Mobile Home Park Nation. Ferd here again, the Mobile Home Park Lawyer. Today's guest, he's a digital marketing expert, but he's also an MHP owner and operator, just like me, just like lots of you. He's going to share some secrets of the industry from the marketing side, some of the tips and tactics to make your MHP business better, more profitable, more efficient, and ultimately get to your goals. Please help me welcome my guest, Jonathan Tuttle. Jonathan, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Big advocate. I love your podcast. I listen every week, so it's an honor to be on here.
Hey, great. If you would have said otherwise, I would have deleted this content and you would have been out. But thanks for the compliments. Interested to hear more about your story. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got an MHP, and then we'll dive more into the weeds as to how you can help our listeners.
Perfect. Yeah. So been in the mobile home park space through my dad. We've been in about 15 years. So we got our first park 15 years ago, and I just really fell in love with the space because I was, when I used to tell my friends, I was like, hey, I really love mobile home parks. Like, what are you talking about? And then now everyone kind of knows about it, as your listeners do. Probably it's become
now you're the cool kid, right?
Yeah, exactly. It went from like the weird to like, oh, let me know more.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, exactly. So, which is kind of cool to see the transition over the last 15 years. I brokered for a few years with one of the big brokerage houses, and then we own currently 2 parks, and then I also have a Midwest Park Capital is my mobile home park fund, and we're doing our first raise right now. So that's kind of my background in the space. Been there for a while. I try to get all the trade shows, so some people might recognize me from like the Louisville. I was at Texaco this year. It's a great show. I was supposed to speak on the MH Congress Expo. So some of the stuff I'm going to present on this is actually some of the stuff I was going to speak on stage. So it should be actionable insights for your audience.
Hey, excellent. I'm looking forward to it. Tell us more about marketing. I think MHP gets a little bit of a bad rap, and it may be warranted that we're 10 years behind multifamily, or we're 20 years behind something else. So help us get out of the dark ages and get into the internet age here, and help give us some of your couple immediate tips and tactics that we can use to without having to be an expert in marketing, that we can do to enhance our web presence, enhance our marketing. So tell us what you got, man.
Perfect. Yeah, because I could go really granular, but I also want to keep it so like in a way the audience can implement today without getting too confusing. The main thing with digital too, we got to keep in mind is it comes down to psychology, and these algorithms are based on psychology. Like with the elections we've seen recently, you either agree with what you see in the timeline or you completely disagree. So kind of keep that in mind when anytime you're doing any marketing online. The more you put it towards one bias, people are going to really resonate with it. So when you're putting your content out there, you ever see like the posts that get the most likes? It's always like it's all one-sided. The algorithms love that. It's basically the algorithms are built on biases and engagement. So psychology is the number one thing when it comes to marketing. It's just understanding your audience. So for Facebook is the most effective. And it's nowadays because Facebook went public, obviously, what was it, 5-6 years ago? Then as we all know, how much everyone's been spending on Facebook ads, it's made it so profitable. They basically got everyone hooked on it. It's free.
Right.
Make a business page. Oh yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Now you basically got to pay to play. Most likely, everyone sees like you get only so much, is showing your timeline. Before 5 years ago, every single post would show up on there. It was great, but they want to monetize it. They want everyone to get hooked. So kind of have that mindset when you're doing marketing. It does involve some money. The one advantage too you could use right now, but I think eventually it's going to happen. Facebook always monetizes everything. So marketplace, like a lot of people talk about, like if you're a traditional mom and pop owner, a lot of them still do use the local newspaper. It's the same premise as that. It's basically like putting in like a little classified, but you're using digital, which is a lot more powerful because you could see how many people viewed it, how many people responded to it in real time. They can message, which basically means they can message you or your office manager in real time, basically sends them instant message, and they can communicate, and you can actually just see what they're saying, which is huge because, one of the big complaints with, some people is with their office manager is I can't keep track of what they're doing. So, but so to give you more context give some ideas. Facebook Marketplace is free right now. I think eventually they'll start charging. You could do boost, which is basically put more eyeballs on it. Basically, would be like putting in one ad, but you put in multiple newspapers, kind of the same concept. With Marketplace, we recommend any of your, if you're trying to get rid of some of your park-owned homes, perfect spot to test it out. And the cool thing is, most of your competitive markets, other parks, aren't using it. unless it's a
Right.
sophisticated or institutional owner. So you could command a higher price because you have more visibility, and the whole, people see that it's on the feed, so they get excited about it. So you have a really engaged audience by the time they come in. You actually have the leverage, basically leverage in marketing. You could say, hey, you could command a higher price, which we've noticed just from based on research.
No, that's great. Yeah, we're big fans of Facebook Marketplace. A few years back, I was doing the boosting. I heard from someone else, or my assistant. She's kind of a marketing person, and she said, basically, you're wasting your money on boosting them. Just do it on Marketplace. It's more organic, and in her opinion, the algorithm favored the Marketplace to free content. Would you agree with that, or was that always the case? Is it now the case, or is it not the case?
Well, there's just a fancy way of saying anytime you're on Facebook and you see the ads in your feed or anywhere else online, that's using the business manager. The marketplace is just the classified, like basically like the online newspaper version. They have a boost in there, which basically is like, hey, we could see this more, more people could see this, aka there's more newspapers handed out to people, basically, in generic terms.
So the business manager page, I don't. Kristen may know how to use that kind of stuff on our team, but I don't frankly do much of that IT side. Is that, how expensive is that, and is that better than the boosting? Is it better than the marketplace, or not?
Yeah, that's where all the data is. So Facebook collects hundreds of thousands of data points. They know about you more than you know about yourself.
Right.
That's why people are like, why is this ad showing? How do they know?
Yeah, they know. I know because Alexa is listening. I know.
Oh yeah, they take that data and they sell it back to advertisers. So we could actually pick behaviors, and they're a little bit less on that because of housing and credit. They actually had to pull back because they had all these lawsuits. Whatever this airs. Remember last week they had the whole Senate hearing with like, you guys control too much data.
Right.
Well, basically, you could take that data and find your ideal prospect. So you could have some basic ads running, not in the booster on the marketplace, but on the regular feed. And what you want to do is you want to prime. Malcolm Gladwell calls priming your audience.
Right.
So if you have a bigger park, let's say you have 100, 250 units, just run ads, interview some of your testimonials like, hey, this is a great community. Do some videos like, hey, this is a great safe place. Put all those objections and all the benefits, and then they're already excited to see you. And you could do it for, if you, in layman's terms, it could be, you could put $5, $10, $20 a day. 5 or 10 would be, but it's called retargeting. So after you see it, then you see follow-up messages. That's where it gets a lot cheaper. So if you do, this is a really advanced tip, and if you probably need a social media person, but on the targeting side, what you do is you do people's reactions or playthrough video views, which that means is people that do like, comment, or share. Target those people because it's going to be way cheaper. Facebook likes engagement. They want people to be on there longer. The longer they're on there, the more ads they can serve, the more money they make, which makes sense. And the video views, you could have like a park drive-through video, or you can have testimonials. And if they watch 50 or 75% of it, even if it's like 30 seconds, they watch 15 seconds, that means they're highly likely. You could follow up with those people for pennies if you do the right target in the back end. So that's just a really way to get people really excited about, and you could handle any objections. And you could have those running kind of all year round in $5 to $10 a day. If you have a bigger park, or if you have a lot of units, I recommend a lot more, obviously. But for any park owner that has that size, and then when you put something on the marketplace, like, hey, is that really nice park I always see on Facebook that all these people say it's great?
Right.
So now you've already pre-sold them, and then they're gonna be like, if your other park competitor's not doing that, like, oh, I heard, Johnny's park over there is so nice. Everyone's talking about it. And what is the algorithm like? The algorithm puts it in front of people that want to see it the most, and so they're pre-sold by the time they come in there. Even though if they're between you and your competitor park, you'll have a lot higher occupancy, and you'll have a lot more demand in your park by doing that technique.
No, that's great, and I think we've tried to do that too. A lot of times, it's like, yeah, I call it the leasing plan. We've got a written leasing plan, and what you're talking about is the welcome, the warm. You're making a cold call, a cooler call, a warm call, exactly. A warm customer. So the first time they show up, they're like, hey, I've heard about you. And the referral, in my business, legal side and in the MHP, the referral is the warmest lead you can get, right? So that you say, hey, my friend Jonathan, he's already living in the park. I heard you got a new home coming in. Can I get on the waiting list? Can I, I've got homes right now that are already sold. The home's not even built yet. So I can't even get it through 21st Mortgage because there's no VIN, because the home's not under construction for 5 weeks. But people I've had that referral, that warm lead. So I think that's great that you're getting in front of people, kind of spam, if you will, on the Facebook. I think that's a smooth, great strategy. And yeah, I'm not the social media person, but my assistant Kristen's pretty savvy, so I know she's gonna love, like, this is what I've been telling you. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's your lane, do your lane. Send me the zoning stuff. I'll get in the code and dork out on permits and zoning, but that's great stuff. So that's kind of stuff that every park owner can implement fairly easily. Some of that on their own, some of that they may need somebody like Kristen or you, to do the social media marketing stuff. What other tips do you have that we can do to even drill down even further to maximize our occupancy, maximize our revenue, and ultimately the valuation of the parks?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, 100%. And just have somebody knows what they're doing. That's the key with that. You'll find some lazy people out there, but you have somebody that's full time. But just make sure you do a little research because there's some people out there have really low standards. It's kind of a bad stigma in our industry.
Right.
It's pretty bad. But then there's other people that are just experts. So, but one thing you do on your business page, like on the business page, the settings, put your profanity filter high. It's on settings in the top. Also, you could put in negative like words that you don't want on there. So you could have like something that would say something bad, like, oh, this park sucks, or owner, terrible owner, anything bad, you put those words on there, and those posts won't show up on the paid ads, and it won't show up on your personal page. So you're basically eliminating negative comments. Just think of a list. You can put as many as you want on there. Put all the negative words on there, and so you won't have negative comments, and take reviews off too, because you can't go back in reviews. And I've seen, because we've managed some pretty big clients, I've seen competitors sabotage, not really in the mobile home park space, but like, for example, we used to do a lot of plastic surgeons. A competitive doctor would pay people to write negative reviews. I'm like, this person's like in Africa. They've never been here.
Right.
Like you could see the IP, like they would do that, but you could have a sabotage. So we recommend not even having reviews on Facebook, because somebody could just be in our space too. People that don't even live there, just like, oh, I don't like it because it's like, I live across the street and it makes my house, I don't like looking at it. And they put a review on your site, and now you have that and you can't take it off.
So, right. Now, can you counteract that with positive reviews? Like right now in Kansas City, I've got the highest reviewed park. And in part because my manager's always like, will you give us a review? You give us a review, give us a review. But my brothers may or may not have also made a review. Right? So I'm pushing positive reviews by having friends and family, get me to the top of the list. Does that strategy mitigate the people that are, carpet bagging you, that are your competition? Or is you better just have no reviews, period?
There's two ways to do it. We do this with Google. We do like a free Google review. What you do is you have anybody that you already know that likes the park, just have them go on there and give them some kind of incentive, or have a contest like, hey, everyone pre-qualify and make sure before they post. And then like whoever, we're going to do we're putting reviews on Facebook, but have them pre-qualify, have your assistant park manager pre-qualify, so only the best ones, have them submit it to email, and then like, okay, then approve and put it on Facebook, and be like, hey, you're entered into a contest, and we'll give a $100, restaurant gift card. We kind of do that same with Google. You have your best and like highest fans basically, and you do that with Google reviews too. So you kind of give them incentive to do it, but also you have to like pre-qualify so nobody puts a bad review on there. So, and what that also does is the more positive reviews comparatively, if you do have one or two negatives, obviously, it's out of 5, you could bring that average up just by the sheer philosophy. And if you have 100, 150 units and you get 30 positives, you have one negative, now it just rolls off. Nobody's
right.
So, but if you have like a community where it's just a really bad, that was a great question, by the way. But if you just have a really bad stigma, and like it's like everyone hates the park and you take it over, just keep the reviews off, because that's a losing battle.
Yeah, I've actually, when I've taken over some parks and they have that kind of stigma, and that's what we typically do is we just rebrand the park. We get a new, it stinks because you got to get a new Google review page, and you got to get the stupid postcard to verify it. And if there's no office or site address, like I've got a self-storage park next to one of my mobile home parks, but there's no manager, there's no office, there's no address for self-storage. So we put up a fake mailbox and we gave it an address, and then so Google sent it's the only piece of mail that's ever going to go to that mailbox.
Right.
We put it in the ground, and it still took like 5 attempts. But then we can become Google verified, but we're rebranding it, because the other guy had it was like such an insurmountable hill. Yep. Then we got to get new signage. We had to change the street names with the fire department, because the streets were named kind of after the park. So it was a labor of love, but in that instance, we felt like it was worth it, because and we did change the park. So the park was better, but the reputation online, nobody wanted to come look at us. They'd say there's so many meth heads in this park and tweakers. Also, no. We got rid of all drug people. It's clean. It's great. We got new houses, but it's hard to shake a reputation, right? And in this industry especially, it's hard to shake a stigma. So I think that these are definitely good tactics that our listeners are going to enjoy.
Yeah, no, 100% right. And I love that idea with the rebranding, and you can actually it helps you on the negotiation side. You're like, hey, this is not when you're acquiring a park. Like, look, I just looked online. Like, I can't give you the asking price because look at people don't want to come here. And then you can turn around day one. Hey, this is a new park.
Yeah.
Also too, if you have with your property management, if you like, on site, for transparency, obviously we know about Marketplace, but also use like a service call rail, and you can record the calls and you can really see if they're doing their job. So we recommend transparency. Put the call rail on there to really listen to some of the calls. You don't have to listen to everything, but pick every 5 or 10 calls and be like, okay, you didn't call this person back. You basically hung up on them. So get that transparency and keep those managers held accountable.
I've not heard of that one. Is that the same as like Grasshopper or Who's Calling? Is that just a competitor or is it a different service?
No, Grasshopper is like your 1-800 number. I use that for my businesses, but it's actually you get a 1-800 number, but you could use it with your paid ads, especially. It's mainly for like Google ads, but I don't ever use it with Google. I don't know that aspect. We send traffic there. We do call ads, which are 4 times cheaper, and then record it. So you see that you hold the property manager accountable, and we recommend that to some like Google ads for any units because those are so Google and it's high intent. Mobile near me, like mobile home, available near me. Just do those keywords in there, but then you have a call ad, which is basically 4 times cheaper than they. So it really goes like, hey, I'm looking for a mobile home near me, and it goes right to your manager office, and you record the call.
That's great. I'll have to check that one out. We're familiar with Who's Calling that I think has some of that functionality with recording the managers, but this seems like it's more integrated with the ads. So it seems like it's probably a better service. We've got the Grasshopper.
It's very cheap too. Yeah, it's very cheap too. You could scale accordingly. They make it affordable for everyone. It's not like anybody can get it. So
I like this. You're bringing us into the light ages from the Neanderthals that we all are in the MHP space. No, I'm kidding, but this is great. Jonathan, this is great. Do you have any other tips or any other tactics you want to share before we part? I'm not trying to cut you short, but you're giving us a lot. I don't know if I'm taking all. I don't want to take all your special sauce, but if you got more, let us know, man.
It froze for a second.
Yeah,
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about that.
You basically started the question. You have any more tips? So you could just start that over if you don't mind.
Sure. All right, Jonathan, what other tips do you have? These are great. Do you have anything else you can share with us?
Sure, yeah. So I said definitely in your website, make sure you have a modern website. We didn't really go much in detail on this. And also you need to have all your compliance and your disclaimers is real big nowadays because depending on states, like California is really stringent on like you're running, different advertisements. You have a lot of like language you have to put on there. You could kind of Google like, what is the language I need to have on there? Copy and paste it, have your web developer or your team do it. But you having a modern website that has, fresh photos. It doesn't even have to be, you could use Squarespace or something. If you're a bigger park operator, like we've done it for big, you want to have something that, that perceives you in the right perspective. And then when you're taking over a park, one of the first things to do is like, they probably don't even have a website. So add a website, put some testimonials on there, have some video if you can, some high quality photos, get a photographer for 2 hours instead of shooting from your iPhone, pay them $100. You'll get a college kid for $100. Now you have these beautiful photos on there. You tell why it's good, like testimonials, and then give all the benefits of the local community, why you should move there, why this is the best park, why this would be the next best home for them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So, websites neglected, like in our industry, well, it's tied in. You can do Squarespace or any of those really cheap website builders and pay some college kid to do it. Or, get an agency to actually build like something, if you're a bigger operator, you want something more substantial, but that's an easy one for people. So.
Great. That's great stuff, man. Anything else? I'm not trying to run you off.
Oh, no, yeah. I would say also, yes, remember, and then when you're doing the ads itself, the copy, create a little urgency. So what I do, everyone just says mobile home near me, 3 bed, 2 baths, put something get some engagement on there where it's kind of like a little curiosity. So we feel like this is going to go really quick, might be gone by this week. We put some scarcity in there and then people are like, oh, is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? So put some of that copy, kind of use, Google some copywriting, but think of the ads that made you make a decision. It's usually something that breaks it's called a pattern interrupt. Basically it's something that causes you to stop because the average post and Facebook feed is 1.8 seconds. That's about all you see of it. So you ever notice like some of the things that catch your eye? Throw an engaging photo, throw a curiosity photo, have something that's a little unique instead of just like the mobile home. Like have something like, that's why I said get that photographer in there, and then have a copy that's kind of like, hey, this is too good of a deal to pass up. Incredible mobile home. This is lovely houses. You know, like just have something that's really engaging instead of like 2-bed, 3-bath,
Right.
$15,000. Like if you saw that, you're like, wow, that I'm not gonna go to that one. I'm gonna go to the one that's talking about how great it is and like paint the picture of them living inside of it. It's one paragraph, but then at the end say, hey, this is gonna be probably gone. Call us today before it goes. I can't guarantee it will still be available by the time you see this. We put like some like really urgency copy on there because it will go, but it actually
Your
you
life
get people
will never,
mad.
Your
you
life
get mad
will
when
never
you
be the
call
same.
it's not there. I'm like, I saw it. I swear I was first.
Now, I get the urgency. That's a good idea. Would it be? Would this count if I said something like, 4th of July special this Friday only, something like that?
Ties in perfectly.
Okay, so that would also
those work really effective. Think of like Taco Bell or pizza. They do like the pizza specials, like this special pizza is only gonna be around, and like, oh my god, I have to buy that pizza every weekend because it's not gonna be around after that. But it also makes sense because it ties in like
the McRib.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Same. That's what they get paid a lot of money for that marketing.
I'm writing this down. Buy one mobile home, get one mobile home half off. All right.
Yeah.
Great tips from Jonathan. There we go.
Yeah. Free barbecue with the purchase of mobile home.
You ever heard of the comedian? I forgot his name. He died. Yeah, I forget his name. He had a real dry sense of humor, but he said, man, Pizza Hut is so cocky. They say, Pizza Hut, we will match all competitor coupons. He's like, so I made this coupon, Ferd's Pizza. Buy one large soda, get a free franchise. And I took it in there. They did not honor the coupon. False advertising.
Yeah, right? It's funny.
It's like, that's kind of up big in there as well. But that's great. What other any other tips or tactics?
Yeah, so like going back to the psychology, having the good psychology, having the good website, make sure all your disclaimers on there. Facebook is the most effective, but use the business manager, have somebody come in and help you set that up if you're a smaller operator. Don't your on-site property management, like they don't have multiple skill sets, especially depending on what you pay them.
Right.
Definitely Google Ads. If you're a bigger operator, Google Ads are very effective. And like I said, make sure if you're doing Google Ads, have them do negative keywords. So like your ads only show a cheaper way to have lower cost is have call ads only. So those are cheaper. Record those calls with call rail. Then also you could put your competitor parks and then you put the copy in it. So if it's a big operator next to you, this is a really ninja tip. And say, you put in the copy, like best park in the same town, see why we beat that other park. And you'll show up one or two on their keywords and it's really cheap. And they're like, they'll click on your ad because why is this better than the other park? It's a great way to get in front of the people you want to and basically kind of ethically steal business from the other.
That's hilarious. I've never done that. I feel like that's like poaching, but instead of poaching their houses, which is kind of taboo, it's like, no, I'm poaching your ads. Yeah. You gotta make sure you don't, if you mess with the bull, you may get the horns. You gotta, make sure the operator's not too good, or maybe they'll do it back. But that's
yeah, exactly. I mean, you could do it in a way to get more eyes. You could, and like kind of with the Facebook targeting too. Like I said, target Zillow. If you're using the business manager, obviously the boost, you just boost it. But the business manager, you could target Zillow, target truly all the real estate ones, and then you'll get your ads in front of people that are looking for regular houses and be like, here's another thing I forgot to mention. See why living in mobile home parks, top 5 reasons why living in mobile home parks is a way better deal or better value. And then you list it, and then you follow up with another ad called retargeting, testimonial video, or just testimonial picture. Videos actually are cheaper, and then you could, because they get more engagement. Because people see the video, that they don't just scroll. They're like, "Oh, what's this?" And it's more powerful because you see face to face. And then plus, when you're doing retargeting, you could follow up, like if they watch 50%, then show them the next message. If they haven't watched 50%, keep showing the first message. You could do some advanced stuff like that. But the whole idea is to basically target local apartment, like the same thing with the houses.
Right.
If you have a lot of garden style units, communities, this is like the modern day like door knocking / but you're doing it through digital, and you get the most ROI effectiveness because it's so cheap. Just target the local community and be like, top 5 reasons why living in our community is better than, a garden style apartment. You don't have neighbors knocking. You don't have people screaming. You have your own lot. You can pull your car up. You don't have to walk upstairs. All these things like, oh yeah. So list the objections ahead of time. and the benefits. And then like you said, it's going to warm them up. So that's kind of a really good way to get people engaged that might have not considered a mobile home park. And then they start thinking like, yeah, that actually sounds really good. Let me go check this out. So
no, that's great stuff. You're teaching me some stuff, man. This is great. Appreciate it.
Good. Yeah,
I just got an email. I just got on this email stuff. I thought it was a fad, but I finally have come around, and now I'm doing email. But you're taking it to the next level.
Well, that's another thing you could do too. You could put the email list into Facebook if you have all your community, and you could upload that list into Facebook. So Facebook has, like I said, has all the data. You could put that as. Oh, actually, they got rid of this for housing, but up until years ago, you could put your email list, and you could say, "Hey, create a lookalike audience," and they would send the ad. They put the ad in front of people that were most likely people that are in your email list.
Really?
But that was actually one of the things they pulled with. By the time this comes out, there'll probably be new laws and stuff, but that was one of the, it was so advanced. You could literally take your current tenants, your current audience email list and say, hey, Facebook, go find me the other person's like very similar to this person.
Right. That's crazy.
It's crazy how much.
I knew they changed the laws a couple years ago on fair housing type stuff. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, because I used to be able to on my ads, and I used to do this myself too. I would go be like, I'm looking for, young family within 10 miles of this that has 2 kids, white picket fence and a dog, or whatever I wanted. But obviously, like, that feels like profiling, and it could have. I think that the ruling was, if I'm looking for a young family, well, by nature I'm discriminating against old families or no families or senior citizens. And it didn't give you things like race, religion, creed that were protected classes, but things that were not really protected, they deemed to be steering or discriminatory housing, and they got rid of it. Is that basically what you're talking about? The laws have changed?
It's basically kind of like redlining when you're brokering. It's like, hey, you're steering, but now the algorithm, the more data it collects, it gets smarter. So like even the 15-mile radius, once people start engaging on the ad, it gets smarter and smarter. Because they want to keep people on there, so they want to serve better ads. And if you start getting likes and comments, they're going to show it to that person more like that. And the algorithm's actually gotten better. That the targeting is less important as it used to be. The main thing now is just using kind of like the retargeting. That's the biggest, most powerful thing about it, is because you could literally target and okay, they saw this ad, now we'll show them something that makes them more inclined to come to the community or check it out at least, or be more aware of it. So it's basically just taking the old school psychology and implementing it into digital, and then using these algorithms that basically find the people, and then you could literally say, hey, I put X amount of money into this. Remember, they basically make you pay to play now, and then I get this return. If we're talking, $5,000-$10,000 house at a bare minimum, or $50,000 or $80,000, it's totally worth it. I don't see, and I've just kind of on the subject here. I've kind of looked at some of the dealership, the mobile home dealers, and some of the big manufacturers. They're leaving so much money on the table because we have tools. We can see like they're leaving tons of money on the table by not using some of these techniques. They don't have. It's pretty amazing. But like you said, this industry is like 5 or 10 years comparatively like behind multifamily or some of the other asset classes. Like our technology is just now catching up, and still behind. So.
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, and I feel like we do a good job on our ads. You obviously are doing an exceptional job on your ads, but we regularly are outselling the big boys in the trade areas we go into, and it's like we have better Facebook page, we have better ads, we have more active management, and it's like we're kicking their butt. And it's like, why? Well, this is one of the key reasons. I mean, like for example, I have parks in Kansas City. Kansas City's a pretty big city. There are 85 parks within 30 miles of the metro. All the big players are there, except for Sam's Out. All the big players are in Kansas City. Guess who has the Facebook page? Kansas City Mobile Home Rentals, Kansas City Mobile Home Sales. All this, I do. So anybody is searching on Facebook, Mobile Home Kansas City, they're going to find my Facebook page, not the big guys. And I've got park-specific pages too, and city-specific, suburb-specific pages. I got all these dang Facebook pages. But it's like, how did no one have this one? You can't have 2 people with the same name. How did somebody not already grab this? It just blew me away.
No, you're 100% right. I have like 28 business pages myself for the same premise. You set up a page and you create an audience, and then you could use like targeting. You basically, and if you do this stuff now, like you're saying, this is an asset you can control, and you can eventually sell it. If you say you get out of space, you could say you could add value to it because digital is worth so much. They're saying, with the election, like with not to get political, but with Trump, they said he has more data. If he ever wants to use that for other things, he's got more data from all the advertisement than anybody in history. And what can you do with it? And the same thing, these big operators, it's like fascinating that they just think, hey, well, they do a great job, but they're still leaving a lot of money on the table, and just investing in digital, even on a small scale, it pays itself 10 or 20 times over, if not more. It makes everything easy too on top of that.
Excellent. This is great stuff, Jonathan. Where can our listeners find you if they want to get a hold of you? What's your website? Or I know you got a bunch of them, but how can our listeners reach out to you?
Sure. So we have the Mobile Home Park Fund. It's called Midwest Park Capital, just like it sounds, midwestparkcapital.com. We also have, they want to see the PPM, midwestparkcapitalfund.com, just how it sounds. And then my agency is Revenue Ascend, just like it sounds, Revenue Ascend.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me.
You got it.